Okay. So our topic for today, before that, I forgot to mention. And so for today, we will be discussing isotonic solutions. Okay. So any idea what isotonic solutions are? So anyone who has the faintest idea. Okay. When you say isotonic solution, and what are we referring to? And just recall concepts of your botany or your biology in high school. And so I know that there is something there you can pull out. Okay, so according to ayan, Miss Lim, same concentration with another solution. Okay, so same concentration as another solution. Um, Possible. Okay, possible. Same osmotic pressure as, and so may isa pang answer, same osmotic pressure as equal concentrations of impermeable solutes. There is an equal amount of solutes and water inside and outside of the cell. Okay, there's no osmotic flow. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you have the idea, no? Yeah. So i-correct lang natin yung mga answers that were given. So when you say same concentration with another solution, it's not really isotonic. Okay, it can be referred to as osmotic. Okay, and because if two or more solutions would have the same amount of solutes, they would also have amount, meaning the number of particles of solutes in the solutions. These solutions will have the same osmotic pressure. So yun yung isa pang sagot kanina, no? So ibig sabihin, tama naman, okay? Yeah, so you are correct na if two solutions have the same concentration or the same number of particles of solutes, okay, they would have the same osmotic pressure. So they are considered as isoosmotic solutions, but not technically isotonic solution. Okay. Now, with regard to equal concentrations of impermeable solutes, it's the same, no? Kasi there's no comparison to which, okay, to which solution are we referring to, okay? There's a better definition here from AR. Ayan, so there is an equal amount of solutes in water, inside and outside of the cell. Okay, so let's just focus more on the solutes. So if a solution has the same amount of solute as not the as the excuse me as the amount of solutes in the cell, then we can say that that solution is an isotonic solution. So that's the difference between isosmotic and isotonic solution. No? So isosmotic solutions refer to any other compartments, but isotonic solutions basically, okay, compares the term, okay, isotonic solution basically compares the number of solutes in a solution and the number of solutes inside the cell, okay, or in fluids of the body, okay. And so may isa pang sagot dito. Actually, there's no osmotic flow. Ayan, between compartments, okay, and between compartments, having a solution, okay, and so yes, you are correct. There's no osmotic flow between compartments, but if one of the compartments is the body, okay, or the body fluid, okay, then it's correct. No? We are referring to isotonic solution, and so for this particular lesson, we will be discussing the hold on. And so we'll be discussing isotonic solutions. And at the end of this unit, the student will be able to differentiate between the terms isosmotic, isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. Second is to apply physical and chemical principles in the calculation of isotonic solutions. And third, to perform the calculations required to prepare isotonic compoundant prescriptions. Yeah, so isotonic solutions are actually very important in the practice of pharmacy because there are a lot of pharmaceutical products which require them to be isotonic with the body fluids. Okay, and the reason being, the reason is because we don't want, for irritation to occur, okay, when a certain solution is introduced into the human mucosa, okay, or into the body, okay. So that's why these solutions require to be isotonic with the body fluids, okay. But before we proceed to the definition of isotonic solutions, let us first recall the definition of osmosis. Okay, yeah. And so remember that osmosis is a terminology that is very much related to diffusion. Okay, but they have different meanings. Okay, and so passive diffusion, okay, is related to osmosis, but they are different. Okay, and so anyone here who would like to tell the class what they remember about passive diffusion. Passive diffusion. Another concept in your botany class. And so, and jog those memories. And I know it's there. Thank you, AR. So passive diffusion is the unfacilitated diffusion that goes along the concentration gradient. So anyone who cares to define, okay, what concentration gradient means. Pag sinabi natin concentration gradient, ayan, actually not concentrated gradient, concentration gradient. And so ano yung ibig sabihin nun? So does that mean that passive diffusion occurs from higher concentration of solutes to lower concentration of solutes? Okay, so thank you. Si Miss Lim may nagsabi, unequal concentration in an area. So yeah, Miss Castillo, concentration of particles is higher in one area than the other. From Miss Meitzel, ayan, so medyo tama pero kulang pa rin. Moves from low to high concentration of what? Ayan, so be very defined, no? Ayan, what moves, no? What moves in passive diffusion. Ayan. So kasi yun yung kulang no, in your definitions. What moves in passive diffusion. And so tama naman, no? All of the statements that you placed in the chat box are correct, no? Passive diffusion is the unfacilitated transport of solutes, okay, from a region of higher concentration of solutes, okay? Yun ulit, kailangan yun. Of solutes to a region of lower concentration of solutes, okay? And so yun ulit yung another important thing, okay? Yan. So that's the most accurate definition of passive diffusion. It's the solute that moves from higher concentration of it to the low to a region where its concentration is lower. Okay. Now there may be a barrier. There may not be a barrier. Okay. For diffusion to occur. Okay. For example, if you are preparing your coffee, your morning coffee, when you pour your solutes, okay, yan, syempre, you say that the coffee granules will diffuse, okay, from that area, okay, where you have the high amount of the solute to the area with lower amount of the solute. Okay, so that is still called diffusion. Okay, and so the solutes will move, no, and from that area where you initially place the solute, the coffee granules, until they reach the periphery of your mug. Okay, yeah, so that is still diffusion. Diffusion can also be putting food coloring, okay, in a block of ice or in a block of gelatin, of solidified gelatin. Okay, the solute particles will move from that region where you initially placed them until they reach the periphery, okay, of the other compartment, okay, which in this case is the ice or the block of solidified gelatin. Okay, so what moves, okay, in passive diffusion is the solute particle, and the movement is from a region of higher concentration of the solute to a region of lower concentration of the solute. Okay, and whereas osmosis is different. Okay, and so osmosis is the transfer or the movement of solvent molecules, not solute, okay, across a semi-permeable membrane from a dilute solution into a more concentrated one. Okay? Yan. So yan yung sinasabi natin about osmosis. Okay? It is the movement of solvent molecules, including water, across a semi-permeable membrane from a dilute solution into a more concentrated one. Okay? And so what are the things which are important in the definition of osmosis? Okay? So this is also what I want you to pay attention to, no, when memorizing definitions. I actually did not memorize this. Actually binasa ko lang siya, but at least I know the three things that you need to remember about osmosis. Okay? One is that osmosis is all about the movement of the solvent molecules. Okay? The second one is that there is a requirement for a semi-permeable membrane to be present between compartments. The third one is that the movement, okay, is from a region of higher amount of solvent or a more diluted solution to a region of a lower amount of solvent or a more concentrated region. Okay? Yeah. So those are the three things that you need to remember. Pag sama-samahin nyo na lang, you get your definition of osmosis. Okay? Ayan. So most of the time, I see students posting a meme about sana daw pwedeng osmosis na lang, okay, yung pag-aaral. No? They will just rest upon the book, okay? And then lilipat na lang daw yung contents of the book in the to the brain. Okay? Well, technically you are wrong. Kasi kapag sinabi mong osmosis, okay, it's the solvent particles that will move. So, ibig sabihin, it's not the knowledge in the books that will transfer into your brain, but the contents of, but the book itself, no? Yan, yung solvent, no? Kung saan nakasulat yung knowledge. Okay? Ayan. So kaya pala hindi natututo yung students kapag humihiga na lamang sa libro, no? Kasi nagkakaroon nga ng osmosis, okay? Kaso it's the solvent molecules that enter the brain. So yung libro pala yung pumapasok without the contents, without the solutes, okay? Ayan. So just a joke. And so don't use that meme anymore. Okay. So the more appropriate terminology to use is diffusion. Okay. So sana mag-diffuse yung knowledge to the brain. Okay. Not osmosis. Okay. And so let's use terminologies more properly. Okay. Okay. So look at this diagram. Okay. When you look at this diagram, no, in this first diagram, you will see, that what really happens is that during osmosis, when the solvent molecules or when the water molecules move across the semi-permeable membrane, it tends to equalize the concentration between the two regions which are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. Okay? Yeah. So what do we mean by that? Okay? And so, for example, over here is a more concentrated region, okay? And over here is a more diluted region, okay? Now, when the water molecules move to the other side, okay, where you have the solute particles, what the water molecules, or in general the solvent molecules, do is they tend to dilute, okay, whatever solute is present in that region, okay, in the other side of the semi-permeable membrane, okay. And what really happens is the movement of the water molecules will tend to equalize the osmotic pressure, okay, imposed by the solute particles. Okay? Ayan. So for example, over here, okay, it's the same basically, you know. So you have a more diluted region, okay, and this is the more concentrated region, okay. Again, by default, syempre solute yung tinutukoy ko. And so when the water molecules move to this across the semi-permeable membrane, it tends to equalize the concentration or the number of particles per unit of solvent, okay, between the two regions, okay. Now the difference is actually a form of enthalpy, okay. And so ito yung nakalagay dyan. Or it can also be defined as your osmotic pressure. Okay, it is an energy. Okay, and in a way, ayan, in quotes. And so when you say osmotic pressure, it is the minimum pressure which needs to be applied to the solution to prevent the inward flow of its pure solvent across a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, it varies with the nature of the solvent. Okay, so what osmotic pressure is, no? It is the pressure, okay? It is the minimum pressure that needs to be applied to the solution to prevent, okay, the inward flow of the pure solvent across the semi-permeable membrane. And it depends on the nature of the solute, okay, whether the solute is an electrolyte or a non-electrolyte, okay? Why is that so? Okay, why does osmotic pressure vary with the nature of the solvent? Now, it has something to do with another thing. Okay, osmotic pressure is actually a property that we call a colligative property. Okay, which I will define later on. Okay, um, if the solute is a non-electrolyte, its solution contains only molecules and the osmotic pressure varies with the concentration of the solute. Okay? So when we say non-electrolyte, this is a solute that does not appreciably dissociate, okay, into the solution. Okay? So meaning to say they remain undissociated when they are dissolved in a solution. Okay? Yan. So magkaiba yung terminology na dissociation and dissolution. Okay? So when you say dissociation from one particle, okay, it can dissociate into two, into three, into four, whatever, okay, particles. And these are what we call the ions. Okay? Now, if you have a non-electrolyte, the non-electrolyte, when dissolved in a solution, will remain undissociated, so meaning it will remain unionized. Okay, it is basically unionizable. Okay, it remains as a molecule. Okay, even though it dissolves in the solution, it remains as a molecule. Okay, ions are not produced from a non-electrolyte. Okay, so again, remember, a non-electrolyte is a solute that does not appreciably dissociate. Okay, um, now because of that, no, the amount of the solute in the in the solution is basically the concentration of the molecular solute. Okay, and it contains only the amount of the molecules. Okay, the osmotic pressure varies only with the concentration of the molecular solute. Okay, now it is different if we have an electrolyte. Okay, now an electrolyte is a solute that dissociates in solution. Okay, um, electrolytes ionize, okay, in solution. Okay, Now, when an electrolyte ionizes in a solution, okay, from one molecule, it dissociates into two, three, or even more ions. It depends on the molecular structure of the solute. Okay, so when that happens, if you have a solute that is considered as an electrolyte, its solution contains ions, and the osmotic pressure varies with both the concentration of the solute and its degree of dissociation. Okay, so again, there are two factors now that will affect osmotic pressure. That will be the concentration of the solute of your the concentration of the solute and the degree of the dissociation of the solute. Okay, whether the solute dissociates 80%, 100%, 75%, 40%, etc. And also the number of solutes. Okay, kung paano nag-dissociate yung inyong electrolyte. Okay, and so those are the things that you will have to be careful of, no, when you compute for the osmotic pressure of your substances. Okay, you take note of their nature. Okay, whether they are non-electrolyte or electrolyte. Now, I have mentioned before what colligative, yung tungkol sa colligative properties. No, remember that osmotic pressure is considered as a colligative property. Okay, now what is a colligative property? So before we discuss this, no, excuse me, balikan muna natin yung mga inaral natin ng high school, okay? Remember that your teacher always tells you in your high school that there are basically two kinds of there are two properties, okay? Intrinsic and extrinsic properties, okay? So pag sinabi nating intrinsic properties, these are properties which are not affected by the amount of the material, okay? Yeah, so for example, the density and the specific gravity are intrinsic properties. They are physical constants, okay? So what is being said here is that if I, for example, have um, a gram of gold, okay, and you have 10 kilograms of gold, okay, our gold, whatever that is, no, and our gold will have the same density or specific gravity, okay, because no matter the amount of the material, okay, this material will have a constant density or specific gravity, okay, and the intrinsic properties are therefore inherent, no, to the material, and they can be used to identify the material and also to determine the purity of the material. If the material does not have, okay, if two materials, okay, one being pure, the other one having an unknown purity, okay, if you compare their specific gravity, for example, and their specific gravities are not the same, then you can say that the material with an unknown purity may not be pure, okay, because its specific gravity is not the same as the pure material, okay. Yeah, so that is an intrinsic property. Now, when you say naman the na extrinsic property, it is a property that is affected by the amount of the material. Okay? So, what are these extrinsic properties? So, the very simple one, the mass. Okay? And mass or the weight of a material. That's basically extrinsic. Ayan. So, kaya nga merong 1 gram of gold and merong 10 kilograms of gold. Okay? So, they have different masses. Okay? Yeah, so mass is basically an extrinsic property. One, we know that one is bigger than the other because one is 1 kilogram, the other one is with just 1 gram. Okay? Yeah, so mas madali kasing makita, no? A volume is also an extrinsic property, and it depends on the amount of the material. And now there are many other intrinsic properties, just like your boiling point and your freezing point. Okay, and you can also use boiling point and freezing point to determine the identity of a material. Okay, by comparing the material with a known purity with a material with a known purity, supposedly 100% purity. Okay, their freezing points or boiling point, their freezing point or boiling point should be the same, because freezing point and boiling point basically are intrinsic properties. They will not depend upon the amount of the material. They are physical constants. Okay. Now, colligative properties are different. Okay. Colligative properties depend on the ratio of the number of solute particles to the number of solvent molecules in a solution, and not on the nature of the chemical species present. Okay? What is this? Okay? So ang ibig sabihin lamang niya is that I could have, okay, two solutions, okay, two solutions having the same colligative properties, but they do not contain the same material. Okay? One solution may contain potassium chloride, with another solution may contain sodium chloride, but their colligative properties may be the same. Okay? Provided that the ratio of the number of solute particles to the number of solvent particles in a solution are the same. Okay? And that is what we are going to do today. Okay? And so um, we can actually adjust the tonicity of solutions, okay, using colligative properties as stated here. Okay? Yan. Ibig sabihin lamang dito, okay, for you to have the same tonicity of solutions, okay, you don't have to have the same solute particles present in one solution as in the cellular compartments. Okay? Yan, hindi naman natin imimimic exactly, okay? What is the solute composition of the cellular compartment, okay? What we just need to do is to adjust, okay, the proportion of the solute to the solvent molecules so that the colligative properties will be the same, okay? Yeah, so yun yung point ng colligative properties. It depends on the number of particles per number of solvent molecules and not on the nature of the chemical species present. Okay? Ayan, so what are these colligative properties? Okay? Ayan, so these colligative properties are the following. So you have vapor pressure lowering, okay? Boiling point elevation, okay? Freezing point depression, and osmotic pressure. Okay? Now, I want you to pay attention to this 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Yan. These vapor pressure lowering is different from vapor pressure. Okay? Yeah, so at this point in time, you may have already learned from your organic chemistry that okay. Hold on. Okay, so I'm back. Hindi pala nakasaksak yung USB. Okay, so at this point in time, you may have already discussed in organic chemistry the properties of your organic molecules. Okay, and of course, you cannot discuss properties of organic molecules, especially properties of solvent, okay, without discussing vapor pressure and boiling point. Okay, yeah. So remember that vapor pressure is dependent on the nature of the chemical species. Okay, and so it has something to do with the nature of the chemical species. Okay, so when you say vapor pressure, it is basically the pressure that is imposed, okay, by the species, by the chemical species, okay, either in a solution or as a pure liquid, okay, to the atmosphere, okay. Yan. So remember also that boiling happens when the vapor pressure of the liquid equals the atmospheric pressure. Okay? And so remember that. Boiling happens when the vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. Bakit natin sinasabi ito? Because there is atmospheric pressure here which tends to keep your material in its phase. Okay? Whether it is solid, liquid, or gas. Okay? Yan. So, yun yung mga bagay na nagkikip sa phase ng matter. Okay? You have the atmospheric pressure. Okay? Now, your material here, okay, will also have its vapor pressure. Okay? Itatry niyang kumawala, okay, from each other. Okay? Ayan. So magkakasama sila, okay? The solute the solute particles or the particles in the matter will tend to break apart. Pero they are kept in place by the atmospheric pressure. Okay? Now, there are certain materials na yung kanilang intermolecular forces of attraction are quite weak. Okay? So, rather than being kept together, okay? So, mas gusto nilang maghiwa-hiwalay. Okay? Yan. So, we can say that their vapor pressure is low. Okay? Now, because their vapor pressure is low, okay, they can easily attain, okay, the same pressure as the atmosphere. So they easily volatilize, okay? They easily volatilize, or we can say, sorry, mali. Atras. Nabaliktad ko yung dalawa. Okay. So, if a material has a high vapor pressure, ibig sabihin mas kumakawala sila, okay? Yan, so mahina yung intermolecular forces of attraction between these particles, okay? Mas gusto nilang kumawala, mataas yung kanilang vapor pressure, okay? So, dahil mataas yung kanilang vapor pressure, mas madali nilang ma-attain yung atmospheric pressure, okay? Yeah, so because of that, okay, we can say that these materials are volatile. Okay, they are volatile. Their boiling point will be low. Okay, yeah. So for example, ethanol has a higher vapor pressure than water. Okay, in fact, kapag tumapat ka ng ganyan sa isang botelya ng ethanol, you can easily smell, okay, the ethanol. Okay, and it has something to do with the vapor pressure of the ethanol. Okay? So the ethanol molecules want to be in the vapor phase rather than in the liquid phase. Okay? Yan, as compared to water, okay? Yung water, mas gusto nila to be kept together, okay? In the liquid form, at least with our atmospheric pressure. Okay? Yan. So, between the two, okay, we know that ethanol has a greater volatility. Its boiling point is lower, okay, as compared to water. Okay? Why am I saying this? Okay? Um, while the vapor pressure and the boiling point are affected or are dependent on the nature of the chemical species present, ayan, their lowering or elevation, so pansinin, magkabaliktad din yan, okay? And so, the vapor pressure lowering and the boiling point elevation, okay, are colligative properties, okay? Yan, so meaning to say, dependent lamang yung vapor pressure lowering and boiling point elevation on the amount of solute particles in a solution, okay, and not on the nature of the chemical species present. Okay? Yan, so I hope medyo klaro yon. Okay? Now, ano yung mga example ng mga ito? Okay? Yan, so if you remember, okay, laging sinasabi ng inyong magulang, okay, Kapag nagbo-boil daw ng tubig, okay? And gusto niyo maglagay ng, kunwari ayaw mong easily mag-evaporate yung water, okay? What do you do? What do you do para hindi easily mag-evaporate yung water? Kapag kayo ay nagpapakulo, okay? Nagpapakulo ng tubig. Yan. O kaya meron kayong pinapalambot na buto ng baka. Ayan. Correct. Naglalagay ka ng asin. Okay? Yan. Meron pa. Pag magpapakulo raw ng baka, ayan. Ano yung ilalagay doon sa tubig? Although medyo nakakatawa lang yung dahilan doon. Ayan. So, di ba yung sabi ng lola mo, you should put utensils, okay? Maglalagay ka ng utensils, correct, doon sa tubig, okay? Kung saan ka nagpapakulo, okay? Ano yung principle behind it, okay? Even though hindi nadidissolve yung utensils, okay? Hindi sila nadidissolve, okay? We can say na there is an added, okay? There is an added na um, a dead substance doon sa inyong material, okay? So ang ginagawa niya is binababa niya yung vapor pressure of your water, okay? So dahil binababa niya yung vapor pressure of the water, tumataas yung boiling point, okay? So anything that is placed in any solvent will elevate the boiling point of that particular material, okay? Yan, so yan. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na boiling point elevation. Okay? Yan. So, yun yung idea behind it. Okay? Yan. So, you elevate the boil. Although, malamang ang dahilan talaga no, ng paglalagay ng utensils ng kutsara, tinidor ay para ma-prevent yung tinatawag natin na bumping. Okay? Yan. So, bumping is the formation of large bubbles. Okay? That will cause, syempre, spillage ng water. Okay? Yan. So, posibleng yun din naman talaga yung dahilan. Okay? Yan. Pero better, maglagay ka ng asin. Correct yung sinabi ni Miss Lara doon. Maglagay ka ng asin if you don't want water to easily evaporate. Okay? Because whatever solute you place in water will increase its boiling point. Mas matagal bago siya mag-evaporate completely. Okay? Yan. So, remember that. No? Yan. So, that's the practical application of boiling point elevation. Okay? Now, we also have what we call freezing point depression. Okay? So, yung freezing point depression naman, okay, ibig sabihin, again, balikan ko si freezing point muna. Freezing point is another intrinsic property. Okay? Freezing point alone is an intrinsic property. Okay? Different materials have different freezing point. And do you know that the freezing point of a material is actually the same as its melting point? And the freezing point of any material is also the same as its melting point. Okay? So bakit natin sinabi yon? Okay? So remember na yung gas changes natin, yung matter changes in phase of matter natin ay ganito, no? We have solid. Solid becomes a liquid, and then a liquid can become a gas. Okay? Yeah. So the process of turning solid to liquid is what we call melting. Yan. The process of turning liquid to gas, okay, is called evaporation. Yan. Tapos, the gas can also become a liquid, okay, by a process called condensation. And the liquid becomes a solid in a process called freezing. Okay? So, the temperature where the solid melts to a liquid is actually the same as the temperature where the liquid freezes to become a solid. Okay? Yan. So, pareho lang yung freezing point and yung melting point. Okay? Yan. So, it just depends on where you are looking at. No? It depends on your perspective. Are you looking at a solid? Okay? So, pag solid yan, then we are talking, if it is solid at room temperature, okay, then what is known is its melting point. Okay? Now, kapag molten na siya, okay, pag molten na yung solid na yon, okay, how would you know kung paano mo siya ibabalik to solid? the same melting point will be used to freeze that particular molten material. Okay? Babalik na siya sa solid. Okay? So yun yung idea, no? For example, if you have a liquid, okay? So liquid siya at room temperature, ayan. You want to make it solid, okay? So you freeze it, okay, at its freezing point, okay? Now, if you want to melt that solidified material, okay, then you also increase the temperature until it reaches its freezing point, pataasin mo pa to become a liquid. Okay? So magkapareho lang yung dalawang yan, freezing point and melting point. But we are not talking about freezing point here. We are talking about freezing point depression. Okay? So what is this about, no? And any solute that is added to any solvent, okay, to any solvent can actually depress or decrease the freezing point of any material. Okay, for example, yung manong sorbetero, okay, knows this very well. Okay, yung yung yellow, okay, na ginagamit niya sa paglalako ng ice cream ay nilalagyan niya ng asin. Okay? Yan. So, bakit niya nilalagyan ng asin? Okay? Because the manong sorbetero would like to decrease the freezing point of the ice. Okay? Ayan. So, pag na-decrease natin yung freezing point ng ice, the next question is, nagtutubig ba yung ice? Magtutubig ba siya or will it remain as a solid at room temperature? Remember, pag binaba natin yung freezing point, okay? Pag binaba natin yung freezing point, binaba rin natin yung melting point. Okay? Binaba rin natin siya. So, ibig sabihin, okay, at that point, kung saan nilagyan mo ng asin yung ice, technically, mini-melt mo yung ice. Okay? Because masyado nang mababa yung kanyang freezing point, mababa na rin yung kanyang melting point. So, at room temperature, magtutubig nga naman talaga siya. However, okay, because of the presence of the solute particles in the ice, okay, it maintains that temperature. Okay, so it maintains that temperature. Okay, hindi siya tumataas bigla-bigla. Okay, and so it maintains the temperature kung saan nag-depress yung kanyang freezing point. Okay, so tama yung sinabi ni Mr. Colico, no? Magtutubig talaga, no? So wag kayong matakot, no? Yan. So wag kayong matakot kapag nilagyan niyo ng ice yung asin tapos nagtubig siya, it's normal. Okay? Because what you did is you decreased the freezing point, you also decreased the melting point. Okay? So ibig sabihin mas mabilis siyang magtutubig or magme-melt. Okay? Yan. Pero the energy, okay, that it contains will remain the same. Okay? Yan. So yun yung kagandahan ng paglalagay ng solute. Okay? Yan. So I want you to take note that among the colligative properties, we have vapor pressure lowering, okay, not just vapor pressure, boiling point elevation, not just boiling point, freezing point depression, not just freezing point, okay? Now, osmotic pressure is quite different, okay? Osmotic pressure alone, okay, is dependent only on the ratio of the number of solute particles to the number of solvent particles in a solution. Okay? Ayan. So, wala tong lowering or elevation. Okay? So, osmotic pressure on its own is dependent only on the number of particles present in a particular solution. Okay? Ayan. So, yun yung special with osmotic pressure. Okay, so now there are different terminologies which are important for you to remember when it comes to tonicity of the solutions. Okay, when two solutions have the same osmotic pressure, just like what I mentioned before, the proper terminology that we need to use is isosmotic solution. Okay, now if the solution has the same osmotic pressure as a specified body fluid, for example, the serum or the lacrimal fluid, okay, or the salivary fluid, okay, then you can say that that solution is an isotonic solution. Okay? Yeah, so that's where the difference lies. Okay? Now, of course, hindi lamang to dependent on the human body fluid, okay? It can also be applied to plants and animals, okay? As long as the solution has the same osmotic pressure as any cellular compartment, okay? And or pwede din namang extracellular compartment, okay? Basta it has something to do with an organism, okay? Then when we say hypotonic solution, it is a solution with a lower osmotic pressure than that of a body fluid, while a hypertonic solution is a solution having a higher osmotic pressure than that of a body fluid. Okay, so take note of this. Okay, so hypotonic, lower, hypertonic, higher osmotic pressure. Okay? Yan. So remember yung terminology natin kanina, no? So osmotic pressure is the one that keeps, okay? That keeps your solvent molecules, okay? From entering the semi-permeable membrane. Okay? And so what happens when we place cells, okay, in hypotonic and hypertonic solutions. Okay? And so when you place an animal cell, okay, in a hypotonic solution, okay? So remember that the hypotonic solution has a lower osmotic pressure as compared to the cellular compartment. Okay? So dahil mababa yung osmotic pressure niya, mababa yung nagki-keep doon sa water molecules from getting across the semi-permeable membrane. Okay? Yan. So ibig sabihin, what will happen is that water molecules will tend to enter the cell. Okay? So pag pumasok yung water molecules doon sa cell, okay, the cell can actually become lysed, okay, yan, magbe-burst siya, okay, lysis is also bursting, and hemolysis is a specific terminology for the red blood cell. Ayan. So magbe-burst siya because water molecules enter the cell. Okay? Yeah, now it's different with your plant cell. Okay? So when water enters the cell, okay? So when water enters the cell, remember that the cell of your plant, okay, the plant cell has a cell wall. Okay? So it will keep the cell as a it will keep the integrity of the cell, okay? However, okay, maninigas yung cell. Okay? So there will be turgidity, okay, in your cell. Okay? Um, remember also that the plant cell contains a water vacuole, this one, which keeps the water from the environment. Okay? So papasok yung water doon sa water vacuole of the plant cell. Now, because of the integrity of the cell wall of the plant cell, na wala yung animal cell, okay? Hindi agad-agad magbe-burst yung plant cell, but it will become turgid. Okay? Magiging siyang turgid. Ngayon, you may wonder, okay, ano nga ba yung binababaran ng mangga at saka ng singkamas ng manong na nagtitinda ng mangga at singkamas? Okay? Ito ba ay, is this just water? Okay? Hopefully, malinis na tubig. Okay? Or meron siyang asin? Sige, bago niyo sagutin yung tanong ko, ayan, punta muna tayo sa hypertonic solution. So a hypertonic solution is a solution with a higher osmotic pressure, okay? A higher osmotic pressure than the body fluid. Okay, so what happens is water will go outside of the cell. There will be shrinking of the cell. Okay, so meron tayong tinatawag na crenation. Okay, yan. So yan yung scientific terminology that we use for the shrinking or the shriveling of the cell. Okay, so we call it crenation in an animal cell. in a plant cell, okay, what happens naman is that the cell membrane or the plasma membrane will depart or will not be attached, okay, from the cell wall, okay. And so there is what we call plasmolysis, okay, happening in a plant cell, okay, when you place a plant cell in a hypertonic solution because water moves out of the cell, okay. Yeah, so nagde-detach, okay, nagde-detach yung plasma membrane from the cell wall, okay. So balik tayo dun sa tanong ko kanina. Yung nagtitinda ng singkamas at saka ng mangga, okay? 'Di ba laging nakababad yung singkamas at saka yung mangga? Saan siya nakababad? Nakababad ba siya sa salty water or nakababad ba siya sa water lang? Okay. So according to Mr. Kuliko, sa water lang. You are correct. Okay? Tubig lang 'yon. Okay? Kasi pag binabad ni Manong magtitinda ng mangga at singkamas sa salt water 'yon, it is a hypertonic solution. So, wala pang ilang oras, okay? Magshi-shrivel na liliit yung inyong singkamas at saka yung mangga. Okay? Sino ba ang bibili ng singkamas at mangga na maliit? Okay? Wala, okay? Ayan, so binababad niya 'yon sa tubig, okay? So what happens is the cells, okay? Is that the cells will become turgid, maninigas, okay? Maninigas yung cells. So pag kinagat mo yung singkamas at saka yung mangga, okay? Magkakaroon ng crunchiness, okay? Yan. So 'di ba, mas gusto mo kapag kinagat mo yung singkamas o kaya yung mangga, okay? Crunchy siya, okay? So pag kinagat mo, sarap, no? Ayan. It's because nakababad sa tubig yung singkamas at saka yung mangga. Okay? Yan. So wag niyong maliitin yung mga ganong professions, no? Or careers, no? Kasi even they apply scientific principles. Yung lola mo na nagluluto ng karne, okay? Alam niya kung anong gagawin to increase the boiling point of water, okay? Para mas matagal mag-evaporate yung tubig para mas matagal niyang mapapakuluan yung buto-buto, okay? Yan. Si Manong Sorbetero, alam niya kung paano papababain yung temperature of the ice by putting salt in it, okay? Because ginagamit niya yung freezing point depression. Okay? Si Manong magtitinda ng mangga at saka ng singkamas, alam niya yung idea ng hypotonic solution, okay? That will make the mangga and singkamas crunchy. Okay? Ayan, so ang galing, no, naisip nila yon. Ayan, or baka inisip lang natin na inisip nila. But of course, they do, no? Ayan, by practice. Okay? Ayan, minsan mas maganda kasi you go out there, you explore the world, you know the things that you can learn from inside the four corners of the screen. Okay? Ayan, try it at home. Okay. And so now, when when you place any cell, okay, in an isotonic solution, the osmotic pressure between the body compartment and the outside compartment will be the same. Okay, so there will be no net movement of water molecules. Again, I am talking about net movement. Okay, and there will be no net movement of water molecules between the compartments divided by the semi-permeable membrane. So we maintain the integrity of the cells. Okay, yan. So you can see here that normal yung both um, animal cell and yung plant cell. Although, syempre, yung plant cell will become what we call flaccid. Okay? Yun yung normal niya. No? Hindi naninigas. Okay? Hindi nag-shrink. Okay? Flaccid. Okay, yan. So, normal. Okay, so normal pa rin yan. Um, now, of course, you may have already experienced the effect of being in a hypotonic or a hypertonic solution. Okay, so for example, when you go for a swim, okay, in a beach, okay, so what do you normally experience? Okay, you normally get dehydrated easily. Okay, when you are in the seawater, okay? In the seawater for too long, okay? And that is normal, okay? Kasi what happens is um, nag yung mga cells mo, at least doon sa inyong skin, okay, ay madaling labas. Okay? Yan. So nakakaalis sila because you are in a hypertonic solution. Okay? Yan. Ngayon, if you try to swim naman with your eyes open in seawater, okay, what else do you notice? Okay, you notice that your eyes get irritated. Okay, so masakit yung mata mo, and it has something to do with the movement of water from your eyes to the sea water. Okay, the same happens when you take a bath. Okay, so pag naligo ka, syempre nag-shower ka, try mong dumilat habang naka-shower. Okay, yung water that flows from the shower, syempre, yun ay hypotonic solution. Okay? We assume walang masyadong solute particles doon. Yan, so hypotonic solution yon that will still cause irritation. Okay? Yan, try ninyo maghilamos after this class. Okay? Sasakit yung mata ninyo. Okay? And it is because of the hypotonicity of the water. Okay? Ayan, so kaya nga sabi nila, no, it's better to use isotonic solutions for your eyes if you are tired. Okay? Kaya na-invento yung mga artificial tears. Okay? Yan. So, yung artificial tears, ito yung Vicin or IMO. Okay? Yan, na kulay blue. Ayan. So, yun yung mga artificial tears which are basically isotonic. Okay? To prevent irritation of the eyes. Okay? Now, we need to prepare isotonic solutions because we want to prevent irritation that is caused by both hypotonic solutions and hypertonic solutions. Okay, as long as the liquid will come in contact with any mucosa, okay, that particular liquid needs to be isotonic. Okay, so for example, eye drops are isotonic, eardrops are also isotonic, nasal sprays are also isotonic. Okay, those that are parenterally administered, specifically those that are injected, are also isotonic. Okay, yan. Now, there are cases, however, hindi lahat, no? Ayan, there are cases where um, bolus injections are given, and because of the dose of the drug, okay, you really cannot make it isotonic. Okay? Yeah, so medyo mahirap talaga siyang gawing isotonic. So, there may be cases na hindi isotonic yung i-inject sa inyo. For example, have you ever tried, okay, na ma-injectionan ng vitamin C? Okay? Yan. So, if you have, okay, you will know the pain, okay, and yung sakit, okay, kapag kayo ay tinuturukan ng vitamin C. Okay, yan. So, yung mararamdaman nyo yung movement, okay, ng solution in your blood vessels. Okay, mararamdaman nyo talaga siya, no? Yan, and it has something to do with the tonicity of the solution that is injected to you. Okay, again, that only happens if it is difficult to make an isotonic solution based on the concentration of the drug substance present in the formulation. Okay? Yan. So may mga ganong cases. Hindi natin sinasabi na lahat ng tinuturok ay isotonic. Well, most are. Okay? Yeah, pero hindi lahat. Okay? Now, we can use freezing point depression to prepare isotonic solutions. Okay? Remember that the freezing point of both blood, serum, and lacrimal fluid is generally accepted as negative 0.52 degrees Celsius. Okay? Now, remember that when 1 gram molecular weight of any non-electrolyte, that is a substance that has negligible dissociation, such as boric acid, is dissolved in 1,000 grams of water or 1 kilogram of the solvent, the freezing point is about 1.86 degrees Celsius below the freezing point of pure water. Meaning to say, the freezing point of 1 gram molecular weight of any non-electrolyte is, excuse me, negative 1.86. Okay? So in this particular formula, yan, if you will include the negative sign, okay lang. Okay? Yan, so negative 1.86, okay, degrees Celsius divided by negative 0.52 degrees Celsius. Okay? Yan. Pero syempre magka-cancel out naman siya. Okay? So it doesn't matter. Okay? Now, remember that in order for you to determine the amount of the substance, okay, that will give the same freezing point depression as the serum and the lacrimal fluid, you simply have to perform ratio and proportion. Ayan. So ito yung ginagamit natin na formula in determining the amount of the substance that will make an isotonic solution. Okay? So remember that a gram molecular weight of any substance, which is a non-electrolyte, will have a freezing point depression that is 1.86 degrees Celsius, and the amount in grams, okay, of the substance that needs to make an isotonic solution in a kilogram of the solvent must have a freezing point depression that is the same as the lacrimal fluid or the blood serum, that is 0.52 degrees Celsius. Okay, so just remember this formula, okay, which we will use later on. Now, with electrolytes, the greater the dissociation, the smaller the quantity required to produce any given osmotic pressure. Okay? That's why we put a factor here. Okay? Yeah, so remember that with electrolytes, the greater the dissociation or the higher the I, okay, the smaller will be the quantity required, okay, to produce any given osmotic pressure. Okay? So we can say that I is inversely proportional to the quantity of the substance. Yeah? That's why we have this new formula. In fact, you can simply remember this formula, okay? Kasi this applies to all, okay? Now, what is I? Okay? I is actually your dissociation value or dissociation factor, also known as the Van Hoff factor. And later on in your physical pharmacy, you will be calling this the Van Hoff factor. Okay, and but for now, we also call it the dissociation factor or the dissociation value. Okay, ayan. So for electrolytes with greater dissociation, the I is higher, okay, as compared to those which has a lower degree of dissociation. Okay, so we can say that these vary with the degree of dissociation of the electrolyte. Okay. Yeah, so remember that the formula now becomes 1.86 degrees Celsius times I equals gram molecular weight. And you divide this by 0.52 degrees Celsius, and you divide the gram molecular weight by the amount of the solute. Okay. Now, if you would like to determine the amount of the solute remember, per 1,000 grams of the solvent, which is at this at this point in time, we always assume it's water. It will be 0.52 times molecular weight over 1.86 times I. So it comes from this, no? Ayan, from this formula. Okay? Ayan. So what are these I values? Okay? So for any non-electrolyte or any substance with a slight or negligible dissociation, such as boric acid, any sugar, okay, such as dextrose, sucrose, fructose, even glycerol, okay, they are considered as non-electrolytes. Okay, aside from those, urea, okay, is also considered as a non-electrolyte, okay, kasi it does not dissociate in solution. Yan, so urea, sugars, and even boric acid. Okay, so these are examples of your non-electrolyte, dextrose, sucrose, and even glycerin. Okay? Ayan. So all of these are considered as non-electrolytes. Okay? They do not dissociate in solution. So because they do not dissociate in solution, their Van Hoff factor or dissociation factor is equal to 1. Okay? That is the reason why I was telling you to simply remember this formula. Okay? Because it applies to all. Okay? And if you have a non-electrolyte, then just use a factor of a factor that's 1. Okay? If it is an electrolyte, then we have the following. Okay? Yeah, so assuming that these electrolytes dissociate by 80%, or assuming that these electrolytes have a degree of dissociation that is equal to 80%, okay, then we can say that substances that dissociate into two ions will have an I that is equal to 1.8. Those that dissociate into three ions will have 2.6. Those that dissociate into four ions will have 3.4. Those that dissociate into five ions will have 4.2. Okay? Yeah, so just a clue, okay? Ganito nyo siya tatandaan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 6, 4, 2. Napansin nyo? Ayan. So, ito ay plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. Okay? But there is another reason for that. Okay? For any solute, okay, for any solute that dissociates into two ions, okay, let's say, for example, sodium chloride. So when sodium chloride is placed in a solution, sodium chloride dissociates into sodium ions and chloride ions. Okay? Now, if we say that sodium chloride only has 80% dissociation, okay? Anong ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Um, per 100 particles, let's begin with 100 particles of sodium chloride. Yan, para madali lang. Per 100 particles of sodium chloride, there will be only 80 particles of sodium. Okay? So only 80 particles of sodium will come out from 100 particles of sodium chloride. Right? Yan. Now, the other 20 will be your undissociated sodium chloride. This will be the other 20, okay, particles. Okay? So out of the 100, 80 particles, okay, will become sodium ions, and 20 particles will remain intact as sodium chloride. Okay? Now the next question is, how many particles per 100 particles of sodium chloride will there be if the degree of dissociation is 80%? Anyone? How many particles do you think there will be for sodium chloride with a degree of dissociation that is 80%? Okay? When we already know, yan, ang tanong ko lang ay ito, yan. How many particles of chloride ions will be there? Okay? How many particles of chloride ions will be there for every 100 particles of sodium chloride? Okay? If the degree of dissociation of sodium chloride is 80%. And recall your chemistry. Thank you for that answer, Mr. Colico. And 80, correct. Okay? Why is that so? No? Bakit ganun? Parang sumobra na tayo sa 100 particles. Well, tama nga naman. Because remember that sodium chloride is composed of two ions. Okay? Yan, dalawang ions sila na magkasama. Okay? What we are just saying here is that what you have is 100 particles of combined sodium and chloride ions. Okay? So magkasama sila together. Okay? So it's very likely that the sum of the number of particles when sodium chloride ionizes will be greater than 100 particles. Okay? Normal yon. Why? Again, no? Balikan natin yung doon sa question na why. Remember that for every mole of sodium ion that dissociates from sodium chloride, there is 1 mole of chloride ion that also dissociates from sodium chloride. Okay? So because there is a 1:1 correspondence between sodium ions and chloride ions, then we can say that the number of particles of chloride ions that will be in solution will be the same as the number of particles of sodium ions in the solution when sodium chloride dissociates. Okay? So the I is actually the sum of the number of particles divided by the number of particles of the original solute. Okay? So we simply add this 80 plus 80 plus 20 particles. Yan, kasali yung 20, ito yung undissociated sodium chloride solute divided by the original 100 particles of the sodium chloride. So this will be equal to 80 plus 80, 160 plus 20, 180 divided by 100. This is equal to 1.8. Okay? So diyan nang galing yon. Okay? Yan. So if you cannot remember, no? Ayan, tulad ng sabi ko sa inyo, I will never ask you to memorize anything. All of them has all of these things, no, have an origin. Okay? Yan, may dahilan kung bakit sila ganyan. Okay? Yan. So, hindi nyo kailangan i-memorize yan. You can try 2.6, 3.4, and 4.2. Okay? Yan. So, sige, try natin yung 3 ions. Pag 3 ions yan, and nagdi-dissociate siya ng 80%, then the particles will be 80 plus 80 plus 80. Ito yung tatlong particles, tatlong ions, plus 20. Yan yung undissociated particle divided by 100. So I will be equal to 8, 16, 24, 260 divided by 100, 2.6. Okay? Ayan. So ganun din yung 3.4 and 4.2. Okay? So again, all these I values are only true, okay, if the degree of dissociation is assumed to be 80%. Okay? Now, another thing that you have to remember is that with electrolytes, the greater the dissociation, the smaller the quantity required to produce any given osmotic pressure. Okay? Ito na pala yung sinabi ko kanina. Ayan. Hold on. Ayan. And also remember that one quantity of any substance should, in theory, have a constant tonic effect. If dissolved in 1,000 grams of water, that is 1 gram molecular weight of the substance divided by its I or dissociation value. So what do I mean, no, by this one? Okay, yeah. So let's move on to the next slide. I want you to look at this diagram. Okay, yeah. So what I will do is this. I will transfer the X, okay, and the amount of the substance that will make it isotonic over there, okay, and then yung gram molecular weight naman ilalagay ko dito, okay, or pwede ko siyang ilagay sa ibaba. Dahil may X dito, gawin natin Q to. Ayan. Okay? Ayan. Now, let us suppose, no, that you want to know the sodium chloride equivalent of any substance. Okay? Ayan. So, you want to know the sodium chloride equivalent of any substance. Okay? Ayan. So, what is sodium chloride equivalent? The sodium chloride equivalent is basically the number of grams of sodium chloride that we can say will have the same tonic effect as a gram of any substance. Okay? So now we have two substances. According to this statement, one quantity of any substance should in theory have a constant tonic effect if dissolved in 1,000 grams of water. That is, 1 gram molecular weight of the substance divided by its dissociation value. Saan nanggaling yung words na yan? Okay? So let's say I have another substance. Okay? So let's say I have another substance with a dissociation factor that is I2. Okay? The formula will become like this. Ayan. Ayan. Okay? So this is another substance with a dissociation factor I2 with a quantity Q2 per 1,000 grams of the solvent, and its gram molecular weight 2. Okay, so this is its MW2. Okay, and so I will again transfer this here. Okay, so I will have 1.86 degrees Celsius divided by 0.52 degrees Celsius times Q2 times I2 equals gram molecular weight 2. Okay? Ayan. So, para lang makita ninyo yung sinasabi niya dito na constant tonic effect, okay? What we can do is this, okay? I can transfer this over here sa ibaba niya. Okay? So you will notice na molecular weight of any substance divided by its quantity times its I value is a constant, and this is the constant. Okay? I can also do the same over here. Actually, iba yung gusto kong gawin sana, kaso baka hindi mag-gets kung ba't ko gagawin yon. And i-divide ko sana siya. Okay? Ayan. So again, any substance with a molecular weight or gram molecular weight, okay, 2 divided by the quantity 2 times I2, okay, is a constant. Okay? Ayan. Now, because these two are constants, we can simply say that this is equal to this. Okay? Ayan. Or another way that you can look at it is divide this by this. Okay? Yan. Itong buong quantity na ito, i-divide mo by this whole quantity. Okay? What you will do is you will simply cancel this out. Okay? Yan, maka-cancel out mo yan. Okay? And you will have this formula. Okay? Ayan. Next, let's say Q1 is sodium chloride, okay? And you would like to determine the amount, okay, of sodium chloride present in each gram of the substance, okay? Yeah, so what I will do is I will simply transfer I over here and I2 over here. Ayan. What do you see? Ayan. So makikita ninyo is that um, the molecular weight of any substance divided by its I, okay, is equal to its Q, okay, or the quantity required to make an isotonic solution, okay? Now, Q2 is any substance, ganun din yan, molecular weight divided by its I, okay? And that is actually the origin of this formula that you have here, okay? That's the tonicic equivalent, okay? So quantities of two substances that are tonicic equivalents are proportional to the molecular weights of each multiplied by the I value of the other, okay? Yeah, so if we go back to the previous slide, okay? And so the ratio of the weight of any substance, okay, for every weight of another substance is equal to the molecular weight of the first substance divided by its I, okay, or molecular weight of that substance times the I of the other substance over molecular weight of another substance times the I of the other substance. Okay? Yan. So, diyan nanggaling itong formula na ito. Okay? Yan. So, we can rearrange the terms. Okay, so we can rearrange the terms so that we can compute for the value of x, which is basically the tonicic equivalent. Okay, yeah, so the tonicic equivalent will therefore be equal to 58.5 times the I of the substance, okay, divided by 1.8 divided by pa rin to, molecular weight of the substance. Okay, now 58.5 is actually the molecular weight of sodium chloride, approximately. And then 1.8 is the I value of sodium chloride. Okay? Yan. So, pansinin ninyo na the molecular weight of sodium chloride is multiplied by the I of the other substance, and the molecular weight of the other substance is multiplied by the I value of sodium chloride. Okay? So, basically, that's how you do it. Now, another thing, okay, para hindi kayo malito kung sino yung nasa taas at sino yung nasa baba, remember that tonic equivalent is the number of grams of sodium chloride equivalent to every gram of another substance. Okay? Yan. So, since this is molecular weight of sodium chloride, this is grams per mole. Okay? Yan. So, grams per mole. Yan. So, grams ng alin? Grams ng sodium chloride. Okay? So, nasa ibabaw siya. Okay? Now, yung molecular weight of the other substance, this is grams of the substance per mole of the other substance. Okay? So, nasa ilalim yung grams of the substance. Okay? So, E value is basically the number of grams of sodium chloride equivalent to the number of grams of another substance that you want to replace, that will be used to replace sodium chloride. Okay? Because of reasons where sodium chloride cannot be used. Okay, for example, silver nitrate is used to treat neonatal gonorrhea. No, it is used as a prophylaxis for neonatal gonorrhea. Ayan. So, pwede kasing yung bata, okay, kapag siya ay inilabas through normal delivery, dumadaan siya sa, pwede siyang maka-encounter ng infection. Okay? Pwedeng mabulag yung bata. Okay? Yan. So, sodium chloride can be used as an eye drop, okay, to prevent neonatal gonorrhea, which can cause blindness in a neonate. Okay? Now, you cannot use sodium chloride to adjust the tonicity of silver nitrate because silver nitrate plus sodium chloride will produce an insoluble precipitate that is silver chloride. Okay? Ayan. So, ito ay maaaring makakos naman ng, syempre, opacity in the eyes. Okay? Or a decrease in the amount of silver, which is actually the anti-infective agent in silver nitrate. Okay? Yeah. So because of that reason, we cannot use sodium chloride as a tonicity adjusting agent for certain solutions like silver nitrate. Okay? That's why we need to know about tonicity equivalence. Okay, so let's try to utilize those principles in these practice problems. Okay, and so first is ayan, a solution of anhydrous dextrose with a molecular weight of 180 grams per mole contains 25 grams in 500 milliliters of water. Okay, calculate the freezing point of the solution. Okay, now remember that the gram molecular weight of the substance, no, each gram molecular weight of the substance in 1,000 grams, okay, of the solvent, okay, will have a freezing point depression of 1.86 degrees Celsius times the value of its I. Okay. Now, dextrose is actually considered as a non-electrolyte. So its I value is equal to 1. Okay? And it is equal to 1. Now, what we need to know is what is the amount of the dextrose in each 1,000 grams of water. Okay? Because our solution is 25 grams of dextrose in 500 ml of water, yan, pwede nating sabihin na you have 25 grams of dextrose in 500 grams of water. Okay? So, by ratio and proportion, and we can determine for the value of x. Okay? And this is the amount of dextrose that is present in each 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? What else do we know? We know that the freezing point, okay, of a gram molecular weight of any substance is negative 1.86 degrees Celsius. Okay? Times its I. Okay? So the I is equal to 1. Okay? Now, what is the gram molecular weight, okay, of your dextrose? It's 180, okay? Now, this is the gram molecular weight or the molecular weight, okay, per 1,000 grams, okay? So 180 grams of dextrose per 1,000 grams of the solvent will have a freezing point of negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times 1, okay? Now, what is the freezing point, Y, okay, of a solution containing 50 grams of dextrose in 1,000 grams of water, okay? So we just have to compute for the value of Y. You transfer Y here, multiply here, divide here. The answer should be equal to 0.52 degrees Celsius, okay? So what do we know about this? Okay, so ano yung mahuhutaan natin dito? Assuming, okay, that upon dissolution of 25 grams of dextrose in 500 milliliters of water, the volume does not change, okay? So the volume of the solution is still 500 milliliters. Then we can compute for the percent weight in volume of the solution, okay? So again, may assumption tayo dito. Our assumption is that the 25 grams of dextrose do not occupy any space. Okay, and so the percent weight in volume is equal to 25 times 100 divided by 500 is equal to 5%. Okay? So ang ibig sabihin, the D5W, okay, or dextrose 5% in water is considered as isotonic. Okay, and it is an isotonic solution. D5W is a common, okay, it is a common infusion for nutrition of patients. Okay, yan. So ginagamit siya as a form of nutrition for patients which are severely dehydrated, possibly because of burn, etc. Okay, or pwede ring diarrhea. Okay, so replacement siya ng fluids. Okay, so D5W pala is considered as an isotonic solution. How do we know that? Because the freezing point of a solution that contains 25 grams in 500 ml of water is the same as the freezing point, and I forgot the negative sign, is the same as the freezing point of the body fluid, which is negative 0.52 degrees Celsius. Okay? Yan. So let's have another example. So ito ay kasi papareho lang nung kanina. So let's move on to the next. And so how about this one? You have zinc sulfate, which is a 2-ion electrolyte that dissociates 40%. Okay. So remember that because its degree of dissociation is only 40%, for every 100 particles of zinc sulfate, only 40 particles of zinc, okay, will be dissociated. The rest, 60 particles, will be undissociated. Now, because of the 1:1 ratio between zinc and sulfate ions, then we can say that this is also 40. Okay, so the I, or the Van 't Hoff factor, will be equal to 40 plus 40 plus 60 divided by 100. So this will be equal to 1.4. Yan, correct. Okay, how about the next one? What is the sodium chloride equivalent of boric acid, a weakly dissociated substance with a molecular weight of 61.8? Ayan. So remember our formula, okay? So the formula for the tonic equivalent is equal to molecular weight of sodium chloride, okay? Divided by the I of sodium chloride times the I of the substance divided by the molecular weight of the substance. And I have showed earlier, no, kung paano na-derive itong formula na ito. Ayan, so we can simply plug in the values. So the E, or the tonic equivalent, is equal to the molecular weight of sodium chloride, that is 58.5. I is 1.8. Yan, pag hindi binigay yung molecular weight ng sodium chloride and yung kanyang I value, these two values are constants. Okay? Yan, so 58.5 divided by 1.8, times the I of the substance, which is boric acid is a non-electrolyte. So its I is 1, its molecular weight is 61.8. So the tonicity equivalent is equal to 0.53. Okay? Now, even if the E, the tonicity equivalent, does not have any unit, we can simply say that this has a unit that is grams of sodium chloride per gram of the substance, which in this case is boric acid. Okay, this will be very helpful later on in other computations. Okay, so how about this? Calculate the sodium chloride equivalent for glycerine, a non-electrolyte with a molecular weight of 92. And so again, the E value is equal to 58.5 divided by 1.8 times the I of glycerine is also 1 because it is non-electrolyte divided by its molecular weight, 92. So this should be equal to 0.35. Okay? So wala yung unit, pero you can write na it's 0.35 gram of sodium chloride per gram of glycerine. How about this one? Procaine hydrochloride is a two-ion electrolyte dissociating 80% in a certain concentration. Calculate its dissociation factor. Okay. Now, in your examination, no, and also in your quizzes, because I understand that you may not be familiar with some of the dissociations of certain solutes, I will be specifying how many ions there are, okay, when the substance ionizes. Okay, and so ilalagay ko palagi ito. Okay, ayan. So for example, pag sinabing zinc chloride, ayan, zinc chloride, okay, sasabihin ko it is a 3-ion electrolyte dissociating with this degree of dissociation, etc. Okay? Yan, so that it will be easier for you. Yan, kasi hindi pa naman tayo chemistry. Ano pa lang naman tayo? Pharmaceutical calculation. So, doon tayo focus sa calculations. So, calculate its dissociation factor. Now, because this is a 2-ion electrolyte, okay, the two ions will have 80 particles per 100 particles of the original solute. Okay, the other 20 particles will be undissociated. Okay, so this will be equal to 1.8. Now, if you are asked to determine the sodium chloride equivalent, okay, it is equal to 58.5 divided by 1.8 times 1.8, that's the I of procaine hydrochloride divided by its molecular weight, which is 273. And this one should be equal to 0.214. Okay. Now, the sodium chloride equivalent is actually can actually be found in tables in your textbook. Okay. Ayan. So if the sodium chloride equivalent is given, there is no need for you to compute for the sodium chloride equivalent. But, okay, if it is not stated in the problem and you don't have any reference for the sodium chloride equivalent, you need to compute the sodium chloride equivalent using the molecular weight and the I of the substance. How about this one? Calculate the freezing point of a molar solution of procaine hydrochloride. Okay? And so before we do this, okay, remember that a molar solution means your solution contains 1 mole, okay, of the substance per 1 kilogram or 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? Sounds familiar, right? Yeah, so remember na according sa ating formula, all substances will have a freezing point of negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times their I, okay? Ulitin ko. The gram molecular weight, okay, of any substance, okay, will have a freezing point that is equal to negative 1.86 degrees Celsius, okay, times their I. Okay? So, andito yung gram molecular weight of the substance. But, okay, remember that that gram molecular weight should be present in 1,000 grams of the solvent or water. Okay? So, ulitin natin. a gram molecular weight of any substance in 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram of a solvent will have a freezing point of negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times I. Okay? Now, if you have a molar solution of procaine hydrochloride, all you need to know is how much is the weight of the mole of solute. Okay? Yeah, so meron ka ditong 1 mole ng solute daw in the solution. Okay? So we know that the molecular weight of procaine hydrochloride is 273. Okay? So it is equal to 273 grams per mole. Now, your solution contains 1 mole. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, the weight of the substance in your solution, okay, is basically its gram molecular weight per 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? So, meaning to say, yan, dahil ito ay basically yung kanyang molecular weight, you can compute for its freezing point. Okay? And its freezing point will be equal to negative 1.86 times its I value. Okay? Now, its I value is equal to 1.8. Okay? Ayan, so ibig sabihin, negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times the value of the I, which is 1.8, is equal to negative 3.35 degrees Celsius. Okay? Now, if you are unsure of this, okay, may isa pang paraan. Okay? We can use the formula. Okay? So, of course, we can use the formula that I gave to you earlier. Okay, so i-retain natin ito. Okay, so remember that according to the very first formula that I presented to you, in order for you to compute for the amount of any substance Q, okay, in 1,000 grams of the solvent, okay, that will be isotonic with the body fluid, or that will be having a freezing point that is equal to negative 0.52 degrees Celsius, okay, you need to consider the molecular weight of the substance per 1,000 grams of the solvent, okay, which has a freezing point that is negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times the value of the I. Okay? Yeah, so ito yung pinaka-formula na gagamitin natin. Okay? So what do we know? We know the molecular weight of procaine hydrochloride. The molecular weight of procaine hydrochloride is 273 grams per mole. Okay? And so in each 1,000 gram of the solvent, okay, you have a gram molecular weight of the substance, and that is equivalent to 273 grams. Okay? And the I value is equal to 1.8. Now, we computed that in a molar solution of procaine hydrochloride, you actually have 273 grams of the solute or procaine hydrochloride as well. Okay? Yan kasi remember that 1 molal is equal to 1 mole of the solute per kilogram of the solvent. Now, we just multiply to this the molecular weight, which is 273 grams per mole. You cancel the moles. Okay? So, lalabas ay 273 grams of the solute are present in each 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? So basically, ang sinasabi natin is that a molal solution contains 273 grams of the solvent, of the solute per 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? So we can substitute that 273 here in the Q. Yeah. Now, remember that we are not computing for the amount Q, okay, of the substance that will make it isotonic, or that will make it have a freezing point that is equal to negative 0.52 degrees Celsius. What is being asked is we need to determine the freezing point of this solution. Okay? So because we need to know the freezing point of that solution, we simply replace this the denominator with the unknown freezing point. TF. Okay? Yeah, so you will observe that you cancel out this one. Okay? So the freezing point is basically 1.86 degrees Celsius times 1.8. It's the same. No? Negative 3.35 degrees Celsius. Okay. So actually, this question is the same, no? Ayan, as the previous one. Ayan, so pwede nyo naman ng computing yan. So I is equal to 90% dissociation, 90 plus 90 plus 10 divided by 100. So this will be equal to 1.9. Calculate the freezing point of a molar solution, not change in TF. So the freezing point, okay, of the solution is basically negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times its I value, 1.9. So this is equal to negative 3.53 degrees Celsius. How about this one? The freezing point of a 5% solution of boric acid with a molecular weight is stated is negative 1.55 degrees Celsius. How many grams of boric acid should be used in preparing 1,000 milliliters of an isotonic solution? Okay. Now we have a lot of assumptions to be made here. Okay. First is that we will assume that the number of that the amount of the solvent in the 5% solution is the same as the weight, okay, of the solution. Okay? Ayan. The amount of the solvent in the solution is the same as the weight of the solution. Okay? So 5% means you have 5 grams for every 100 ml. Okay? Now, 5 grams are present in 100 ml, we need to know how many are present in 1,000 milliliters of the solution, X. So we know that this is 50 grams, okay? So 50 grams of boric acid are present in 1,000 milliliters of the solution. However, we will be assuming that 1,000 milliliters of the solution, okay, is the same, will require the same amount of water. Okay, and so assuming that it will require the same amount of water, we can say that there are 50 grams of boric acid in 1,000 grams of water. Okay? Mayroon tayong assumption na siningit dyan. Okay? The next is, you know na its freezing point is negative 1.55 degrees Celsius. Okay? Remember that you can always equate, okay, that remember that the concentration, okay, that the concentration of any non-electrolyte, okay, is the, directly proportional to its freezing point. Okay, and so its freezing point is negative 1.55 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we can actually equate to this yung 50 grams of your boric acid. Okay. Now, you want to produce an isotonic solution having a freezing point of negative 0.52 degrees Celsius, and you want to know the quantity of boric acid that will give you that freezing point depression. Okay? Again, both of these, yung numerator and yung denominator, ay present in 1,000 grams of the solvent. Ito rin ay 1,000 grams of the solvent. Okay? Now, and that's another assumption. Okay? We are again assuming that the solution that you are preparing with a volume of 1,000 milliliters will actually require 1,000 grams of the solvent as well. Okay? So, para ma-solve nyo itong problem na ito, ang dami nating assumptions. Okay? Ayan, so we cancel this out. Ayan, hindi talaga mag-a-appear sa computation yan. So, the amount will be equal to 16.8 grams. Okay? So that's the amount, okay, based on this problem. Now, if we will be using the other formula, okay, that was stated earlier on, which is this one, negative 1.86 degrees Celsius times I, equals molecular weight of the substance divided by Q, and this one is negative 0.52 degrees Celsius. What is Q? Okay? Yan. So, i-compute natin siya kasi binigay naman yung molecular weight ng boric acid. So, the molecular weight of boric acid is 61.83 grams. So, ibig sabihin, this is the gram molecular weight of boric acid. And remember that gram molecular weight of boric acid, okay, per 1,000 gram of the solvent will have a freezing point depression that is 1.86 degrees Celsius times I is equal to 1. Now, we don't know the value of Q, okay? We know that the freezing point depression of body fluid is 0.52 degrees Celsius, okay? And so, we compute for the value of Q, and now the value of Q is equal to 17.3 grams. Okay? Yeah, so notice the difference. Okay? Medyo mayroong difference itong dalawa. Okay? Yan, why is that so? Okay? Bakit mayroong kaunting difference yung dalawa? It has something to do with the assumptions that we made. Okay? Yeah, so remember that we made an assumption, okay, here that the 5% solution will actually require the same amount, okay, of the solvent as the amount of the solution. Okay? When in fact, it could not be the same. Okay? Another assumption that we made is that the volume of the solution that you are preparing is the same as the volume of the solvent that will be used to prepare the solution. Okay? Yeah. So because of those assumptions, there really could be differences. Okay? Yan. Pero when you use the other formula that we have, dapat ganon, no? It's approximately 17 grams. Okay? At least with that, no, sure tayo. Okay? So at least 17 grams of boric acid in 1,000 grams of water will make an isotonic solution. Okay? And so we'll be continuing on with the other problems in our next class. Okay? And so I want you to try to solve these problems. Okay? Then we'll proceed directly to equivalents, milliequivalents, and milliosmoles. Those will be our last topic, okay, for pharmaceutical calculations. I think at this point, okay, medyo kailangan mag-sink in muna kung ano yung mga diniscuss natin today, no? Ayan. So with that, we'll end this session for today.